I talk you through some how to do some flossing today, which is basically sort of blood flow restriction and trying to basically essentially restrict blood flow. And then once you release the band, obviously you get that increase in blood flow, and it helps with at least short-term mobility, and sometimes can help if you've got a little niggle somewhere, or if you're really achy from some DOMs. This sort of helps quite a lot. Or if you have had an injury on your back to doing close to non-restricted movement, this could be quite a useful tool to get that short-term mobility and in turn get you into full range in the position. So what you'll need like I'm using a knee wrap here, but you can buy a voodoo band, which is specifically for this sort of flossing, or you can just use like a physio light resistant band, the ones that aren't attached at either end, just a nice and light that you can roll up. So what you'll need to do, I'm going to take you through three different joints, just so we get the focus on it. So what you want to do is you want to get a high and as much into the joint as you can. So we're going to start with the hip joint. Hip joint's probably the strongest and the easiest one to do by yourself. And what you want to do is you want to feel like the adductor on the inside of the leg, down there, and then get one wrap. Every time you do this, you want to make sure that whatever you're using, you get the first wrap attached. It doesn't need to be tight, the first wrap, but what you do is once you get that first wrap over, then you're in a position where you can roll comfortably by yourself. And then from wrap 2, you can create that tension. So you drag it round. The harder you pull, the tighter it's going to be. And you get as far into the joint as possible. Once you've done that, you can either tuck it in or attach it, or you can just hold it like I'm doing there. What you want to do is hold up to 2 minutes, but also while you're holding, put it into range. So get sort of that nice high knee position. Trying to think of the ranges you would generally put it in the movement that you're doing, and then put it through that range while being in the tightness. So I would here then, because obviously squatting is in the game, you go into that squat position as much as you can. It may feel a little uncomfortable, but that's sort of the point. So I might just literally, all I'm doing is once I've done those movements, I'll do the exact same movements, but without the band. I'm only doing 2 or 3 of each one, but if you're doing it for a little bit longer, obviously you'd want to try and do more of those movements, and you can complete that sort of 2 to 3 times until you feel like everything's easing off a little bit. Once you've done it once, your choice, you can just roll the roll up. I like rolling the wrap up because I feel like I can get a lot more control when doing it myself, instead of having like a big like flapping end piece, or at least roll it a little bit just so you've got a little bit of material out of the way. So that's the hip joint. The next one now that a lot of people might use this for is the elbow joint. So the elbow joint is really good if you suffer from like tennis elbow or tendonitis in the elbow. It's a relatively easy one to do, but the first couple of wraps are quite difficult. So I always think the first few wraps, just get the tension. Don't worry about how well they're wrapped. If you got forearm pain, or like the pain is below the elbow joint, wrap more below. If you've got pain in like your tricep or bicep above the joint, obviously wrap more above. So go specific to where you feel like you should wrap. Get that tightness, try and put it around the area And then you're going to repeat the same thing as we did with the hip joint. Sort of squeeze the hand, because obviously that's going to help contraction in the forearm. When you're doing these movements, don't just do them with intent. Don't just do them for the sake of doing them. Do as many as you feel like you need to. And once you've done those, release it out, and then do those same movements. Again, I'm not holding it for that long here, but you can hold for up to 2 minutes. What you want to feel really is that build up of that blood flow restriction. So you want to feel it actually being a little bit uncomfortable. That's sort of, don't feel freaked out by that, of like getting that lack of blood flow. That's sort of the point. And then last one I'm going to show you is the ankle joint. This one's really good, especially if you've got stiff ankles. This can help quite a lot, especially before you're doing any squats. The important part with this is get it wrapped around the foot first. So put it under your foot. Get it under your foot, like I'm doing there. Make sure it's in the right position. So you've got one wrap under the foot. Tighten it, and then wrap. The important part with this to get it right is the first wrap goes around the ankle, not in front of the ankle. So go around the ankle and then wrap around it. And once you've got that position, you can either tuck it in or you can just keep hold of it. But what you'll find is, because it's wrapped around the bottom of the foot and you've created almost that tie, that once you do any movements like this one here, like you're trying to push your knee over your ankle, that traditional sort of calf stretch, nothing will fall out because you've tied it in. And so once you've done 5 to 10 of them, probably do some like calf raises, single leg or double leg, whatever. Obviously keeping the tightness around the band. Goes without saying, I'm only doing one side here, but if you felt like you had tightness on both sides, you can do it both sides. You can do more on one side than the other. It's a bit like the concept of, if you're doing foam rolling or you're trying to hit a trigger point or something, trying to get a little bit of release like that. It's the same sort of feeling. And again, same as the other two. Once you've released out, calf raises, and personally I feel like I get quite a lot of release from this one quite easily, and generally this is a bit like foam rolling or any trigger pointing. You'll find out when and how easy you get release, so it's important that you just experiment and see what benefits you. But there are a few ideas. There's a lot of other ones of other joints, other muscles, so feel free to go out there and have a look and have a research. But generally your three main points are tight around the joint or the muscle. You want to focus on getting it through range, and every single range that you find is relevant to the way you exercise, and try and replicate the movement you would be doing, and then repeat that movement afterwards once the band is being released, holding up to 2 minutes, or when you feel it's comfortable, or it's doing what it should be doing, which is actually relatively uncomfortable. So don't worry about that feeling and embrace that, and then release it when you need to.